Hey everybody, welcome to our 2025 release Wave 2 for Q4. We'll give everybody just a few more seconds to get in here and make sure that we have everybody that has registered for the call before we start. Hope everybody's having a great December. We're getting into the holidays here, so exciting time for Christmas and New Year's and any other holidays anybody is celebrating. Um, let's see. Think I'll go ahead and get started. Um, like I said, this is our Q4 webinar. We've got four of these that we do each year, even though there are only two quote unquote release wave announcements. The next announcement for 2026 wave one will be towards the end of January, coming up here next month. So towards the end of Q1, so sometime in probably late February or March, we'll do that first webinar of the new year with the new release wave. So looking forward to that as well. This webinar, if you attended the previous one in Q3, we are going to be covering the Wave 2 release notes from last time, except for that we're not covering, we're covering the same release wave, just features that we didn't cover in Q3. So just FYI there. Just some technical information here. If you have technical or content related questions during the presentation, please use the Q&A window and we will address your questions. This presentation is being recorded and we will send all registrants a link to the recording post-webinar. Click the leave button when the webinar concludes. My name is Michael Hazelhurst. I'm a lead consultant within our client care practice here at Argano. And joining me today, I have Matt Pinzano, who's the director of strategy, also here at Argano. Thank you, Matt, for taking the time to join.
Sure.
So if you've joined this webinar in the past, you will notice that the format should be familiar to you. We'll talk about the four model-driven apps that we have. Customer service, field service, sales, customer insights, journeys, formerly known as marketing. And then Matt is going to cover Power Platform features as well as deprecations. We haven't always done deprecations, but we've started incorporating that in the past couple webinars that we've done. So I think that those are super important as well as the features that we cover. So definitely hang on for those towards the end of this presentation. So to kick off with our model-driven apps, we've got customer service, and this one I think has the largest try now feature count, which is 92, and there's only 3 planned that haven't been made generally available yet. This one is connect AI agents using model context protocol servers. So this is giving you capabilities to build out custom agents that you want to connect with your Dataverse data and do things like create or update accounts, list cases, resolve a case, so on and so forth. So with that model context protocol server, you're able to interact with the data, whereas previously you'd have to build things like flows, for example, to do some sort of action. Now that you can essentially make those prompts to an agent and have that agent interact with the data for you. So really just giving you more control over what you can do with AI agents within Dataverse. Next, we have the override timeout rules and SLA-based automatic actions. So this is surrounding the ability in extenuating circumstances for users to go in and essentially pause an SLA. So you're not getting dinged for something like if somebody's on leave or you need more response time or you're transferring the conversation to another queue. It gives you the ability to essentially put in place a timeout so that it's not impacting your SLAs. And then we have use assign option for cases to update capacity and presence. In the past, the capacity and presence were not recognizing if like a supervisor, for example, would assign a case from a queue to an actual user. And so it would essentially disrupt the unified routing engine. So this actually fixes that. So you can now go in and assign records if you want manually as a supervisor to a user, and everything will flow through appropriately and won't be interrupted as it has been in the past. Next, we have field service. 42 try now features, 5 are planned. The first one is optimize schedules with scheduling operations agent. So you'll see this flyout here on the right-hand side where it says suggested schedule settings. And you can see where it has the resource that you can select, the scheduling goal, the time range, and the requirements. So you would essentially pick the selection. You see all those are drop downs, and then there's some check boxes for options. And then at the very bottom, it says suggest schedule. So the operations agent, based upon those selections, will find the optimal schedule for that resource based upon whatever criteria you provide it. So saving a lot of time for something that would have had to have been done manually in the past. We have some agent capability to go ahead and do that for you. So pretty neat new feature there. This next one is link work orders to projects for unified financials. So we've got two screenshots here. The top is CE field service. So you can see the little section where it says related project details. We have a lookup to a project, and then in project operations, you have a subgrid of active work orders that actually reference that project link within it. So tying these two systems together, which previously had been two disparate systems, are now essentially unified, giving you a more seamless view of what's going on. Now we move on to sales. 46 try now features, 2 of them are planned. This first is around the opportunity research agent. So uncovering insights and risks to close more deals. There are 4 primary sections here in this slide on the screen, on the opportunity snapshot screen. So you've got the opportunity snapshot, the pain points, the key decision makers, and the suggested action. So this is all about identifying risks to close more deals more efficiently. In the past, you would have had to proactively go in and manually determine all these different factors that might cause this opportunity potentially to be lost. And now it's all being surfaced to you and presented to the user in an easily readable format. So you can quickly determine, via suggestion, what action you would need to take to make sure that that opportunity remains healthy and ultimately could be closed by your company instead of being lost. And similarly, we have this grow revenue by using sales close agent. So this actually enables you to use AI to try and sell opportunities on your behalf using automation. So in the past, you might have some opportunities that are going to be won, but you still have to interact with the customer. They're very simple in nature and straightforward. Well, now you're going to have the ability using automation to have an agent reach out to your customer via email, for example, and ask them, if they're still interested, because they may have been in the past, and maybe it's more of a regular occurring sale, but it still requires that communication to reach out to them on your behalf, ask questions to qualify any answers that may need to be answered for you. And it'll give them the option to actually ask to speak with a human if needed, but if not, you could essentially have this agent making sales deals for you on your behalf without having to interact. And then instead of spending time on these more simple sales opportunities, you could spend your time on the more complex ones. Last model-driven app that I will cover is the Customer Insights Journeys, formerly known as Marketing. 42 features you can try now and 4 that are planned. The first is export copies of sent emails for record keeping. In the past, you could get templates of the emails that are sent out, but you're not necessarily able to get the personalized version. So if you're building out a journey and you're working off of a template, but then that template is going to insert, maybe the name of the customer, the account, the contact, so on and so forth. And there are certain industries that require copies of all of the emails that were sent to a specific customer, for example. And in the past, it was very difficult to get a particular copy of an email that went out to the customer. You could get, like I said, the template. You could get maybe some statistical data surrounding that email that went out, whether or not they clicked on it, so on and so forth. But now there's going to be an export API that you can click and just have all those emails, the actual physical hard copy of them that went out, that's personalized to the client. So the actual copy of it instead of the template. And you can get that in bulk with a click of a button. So saving a lot of time and headache for those that are after that information. The next is wait on segment membership to trigger next step in a journey. So in the past, we would have to use branching and then these wait steps within that journey to essentially guess whether or not something had happened by a certain point in time. But now you can use whether or not a contact becomes a member of that segment to branch off of instead of having to wait and guess for it. So giving you a little bit more control and eliminating the guesswork surrounding your journeys and maybe eliminating the need for you to create subsequent journeys and keep everything within the same one. And along those lines, this last feature is set message expirations to keep communication relevant. So you see on the right-hand side, there's a drop down for expiration and some choices that you can make there. The example that I was reading about is like promotional offers, for example, for, I don't know, a credit card or something that has some sort of time-bound promotional offer. You don't necessarily want to send out an email campaign and then have that offer expire and then an email be sent to the customer after it's been expired. So this gives you control surrounding, okay, I'm going to wait until this long and give them that long to make this action. But if they don't make it by this point, then we're going to expire it. Otherwise, in the past, it would have potentially sent out an email about a promotion that has since expired, which may not go over so well. With that, I'm going to turn it over and let Matt share, starting with the Power Platform features. Matt?
Thank you, Michael. So let me see how I can do this here. Let me go ahead and share. And you will share that screen. Yes, that is me on a camel, believe it or not. I guess it's the obligatory photo. If you ever go to Egypt, you need to get a photo on a camera here. So enough of my vacations. All right. Thanks a lot, Michael. So we're going to go through Copilot Studio, several big changes here Microsoft is doing. It seems like they're releasing Copilot Studio and Copilot M365 changes literally every 4 or 5 hours these days, but we're going to give you some of the major highlights here. So the first one is a custom MCP server. So Microsoft, the Microsoft Context Protocol server, Microsoft released this about 6 or 8 months ago, and it was really like a centralized area that any of your Dataverse data you could actually reach into if you were doing customer service or field service or sales or even customer insights journeys. You could go through and set any of those options up and actually call information development wise. So Microsoft's now come up with a custom one. And what this allows you to do is kind of have your AI agents work kind of seamlessly and securely with other external systems, such as like ServiceNow or Salesforce, and you could easily kind of adjust those pieces. So again, Microsoft is really kind of letting everyone play together nicely with this. If you haven't played around with the MCP server, very, very powerful tool Microsoft is releasing. And you'll be really surprised how much stuff you can actually do just going to a centralized area. And it's a standard connector out of the box as well. The next one is kind of generating your own model response. So again, with the large language models and with AI, Microsoft essentially had their own models. So when the responses came back, you were kind of limited to what Microsoft kind of gave you. Now, if you essentially can go through and maybe have strict compliance requirements, or you want the responses from your AI agents to be tuned or specifically show this type of information versus that information, you really now can add your own model. Now, this is all connected through the Foundry AI. You can't just totally replace the model. You have to kind of call the model from the Foundry AI, but it really kind of lets you gain the control and kind of easily deploy your own model in, again, a Microsoft's kind of standard mode to kind of go through. But again, just kind of prefacing, you got to go through the AI Foundry to get this. You can't just kind of replace the model and pop in your own model. So automating approvals. This is another big one that a lot of customers that ask for. And this essentially is like, I have an approval for sick time, vacation time, even expense reports. Like every expense report that maybe is under $100 automatically gets approved. Or any expense report that's over $100, we can actually not get approved. So those type of things is automatically done. The human does not have to be involved. Now, with that said, if you do want to have that human person in there vetting the processes or vetting the automation, the approvals, they can go ahead and do that as well. But again, this really is going to be a huge time saver and obviously cut a lot of delays and a lot of fees and costs down the line. But just being leery that it's not an all or nothing proposition, you can still have that human element in there when we go through and just saying, hey, the human's in the loop for oversight to make sure that this thing isn't kind of running awry. All right, now let's go into what's planned for Power Apps. We have a couple of them. Process map of your plan. So planning's a lot easier now. So Copilot will actually go out and automatically map out your process for you. Huge benefit, because sometimes if they're really long, you'll know you have to be scrolling pages down. It's very interesting though, whatever they say is whatever old is new again. Well, this is Visio on steroids, right? So we used to map out our processes with Visio and all the nice little Visio diagrams and all the Visio controls. And Visio used to just let us do that very easily. Before that was whiteboards. And now you can automatically have look at a visual representation of what your process maps are going to be. A lot easier to kind of spot issues and see what's going on with the visual representation. This is actually working really well. I've been playing around with this for doing some documentation of some of our own agents and our own processes, and it sure makes it easy to kind of troubleshoot a lot faster here. Fill in forms with Smart Paste. So they have added now Smart Paste to any Power Apps you're creating with forms. So the Smart Paste we've had in the sales module for I got 5 or 6 months, and it really streamlines lots of different options. So it speeds up, completion of forms, suggesting fields, pasting text you've already had text, or reuse text very simply. Really increases accuracy as well. Obviously, if the suggestion's there and the information there, I can hit enter instead of having to retype. So again, this one is a big one. So if you do a lot of forms, definitely take a look at this one. This is, as far as I know, it is GA. I've been playing around with this one as well. This one works very well, but it's very similar to what we've had in sales. Power Automate. So you can now quantify time savings and value This is just showed up. One day I was just looking at it, and it's really amazing because, again, we do a lot of stuff for our clients, but then in my group is mainly pre-sales, so we do a lot of stuff for demonstrations and proof of concepts. And this is really a great way to kind of show, hey, with this automation, this is how much time we've saved and how much money we saved. Now, on the money side, it is just kind of industry standard numbers that they throw in there. As far as I could see, right now you can't really make adjustments on the number sides unless you export the stuff out to Excel, but it is Microsoft's first shot at it. But it is amazing for ROI stats, especially this time of year when it's budget type of year, saying, hey, if we could do some more agents and had some more folks that can help us with agents, this is how much ROI we're going to get to it and do some investment. This one was a really good one, definitely worth taking a look at. Create and edit expressions with Copilot. If you haven't seen Copilot or heard about Copilot for the past couple of years, you're going to hear about it a lot more. Copilot, again, leveraging that to help you build out and edit your expressions. So just kind of put your expressions in plain text. Hey, I would like to do this. I need a matriculating average on here, whatever your expression might be. How do I create variables, etc.? Stuff that is pretty complex, because I know my own developers on my team said they've been playing around with it to see if they can stump it, and they haven't been able to stump it yet. But essentially, it will just, it's like handling a simple conversation, and it'll easily come back and say, okay, these are the way to kind of edit the expressions and come up with the expressions. So really kind of doing it more of a natural language than having to be kind of remember every piece of syntax you'd ever want to remember here. Power Pages. Power Pages has gone on, pretty much gone through, I think, a big transformation. Obviously, Microsoft's done a lot of transformations, but the Power Pages technology and what it can do in the last release has just gone through the roof. So they're really ratcheting it up. And with that, they are looking at it being adopted more than it ever has before. And what they did came up with an agent, and it's an admin trust security and compliance agent. Pretty big mouthful there. But what it does allow us to do is now the agent is constantly looking at threats. So are we having denial of service threats? Are we missing this? What's the governance on here? Governance that I've set on here. I need to identify this and identify that. So it's constantly kind of checking and really giving you proactive alerts before stuff escalates, before that denial of service shuts everything down in the org. You get notice way ahead of time. And again, Microsoft's going to keep creating these agents to kind of assist you in these type of things. And one of the reasons I do like the agents is they're not going to kind of replace what we're doing in the IT world, watching stuff. They really kind of help us, because a lot of times there's so much stuff to watch with these type of services and pieces that you're not really sure where to go and where to begin. And I think Microsoft gives you a really good head start with these type of agents. The next one is the security agent. And this one's going to make recommendations for optimal access. So, hey, we don't have to, make an admin for everyone. Over broad permission. So it's going to look at all of your permissions you may have and saying, hey, do you need that many permissions to do what this particular Power Page needs to do internally or externally? So it's constantly kind of going through, and it's also looking at roles. So if roles have not been used in a while, it's going to come back and recommend, hey, maybe we turn off those roles, or we make modifications to those roles to kind of either lessen the security models or security risks that we do have for opening this up. And again, another thing to just kind of give you a nice base level on usually the kind of things I should look out for, and I can make modifications from there. Okay, deprecations. So deprecations essentially are features and functions Microsoft is going to remove from the product. So let's start off with the Power Platform. So creating an application from an image or Figma is being deprecated. So in Power Apps, you could go in and there was an app to say, okay, look at this photo of somebody making, I don't know, water bottles, and it would come back and kind of try to create an application from that particular graphic. Well, Microsoft no longer is going to have that feature. Anything you already have is going to be supported. Any new creations are going to be in alternative tools, generative pages. So essentially, in Copilot 365. So Microsoft's really pushing everything into Copilot itself. So this is going to be deprecated. I know a lot of folks have sort of used this. I don't think this was heavily used in the big production environments, but it is kind of going away. The format data by example in Power Automate. Again, you could say, okay, here I have examples of data. Go ahead and try to format those pieces. That's no longer going to be allowed to be used anymore. And again, as we get into, that was in the Classic Designer. Pretty soon, I'm sure the Classic Designer is going to go away. So a lot of folks still were using the Classic Designer. They kind of do this formatting. This is going to be replaced, obviously, with just straight Copilot, where now Copilot does a much better job of giving you any kind of expressions you may need help with right there in the Copilot pane. All right, and Dynamics for Sales. The sales usage reports are being deprecated. They're now Microsoft's providing Power BI reports. These reports, I don't think a lot of folks ever used. I really never had a lot of customers ever use these reports. They were okay. They kind of gave you a high indication of how many contacts and leads and opportunities you had, but it just it didn't really do well because it only was at almost like a 100 level of security and models and everything else on what exactly happened. You really wanted more of the deeper stuff, what folks were actually doing and spending time on. So they're being replaced with Power BI reports. I guess we just had one for sales. So customer service, we had a couple deprecations here. Again, the omnichannel agent and supervisor dashboards are being phased out. Once again, not highly used ever in the features, because again, they didn't really give any details. I think very, very level details that a supervisor or an agent or somebody would want in that customer service world. It is now being kind of replaced or rolled into now when we work with the contact server, workspaces, and the other pieces now inbox and some of the other AI features and enhanced supervisory reports that are now coming in contact center or the CAS system from Microsoft, much, much more rich and much more detailed than these dashboards ever were. Diagnostics and unified routing. Again, I think I used this once in my many years of using the customer service module. This is being deprecated. They are actually now switching it to Azure Apps Insights. So if you do need to have the unified routing, what the stuff is going, you troubleshoot it, it would be in Azure Apps Insights. Again, one that wasn't really, I think, heavily used before in the past. Field service. I think this is my last slide, but this one is actually probably the biggest change or deprecation, and Microsoft just kind of all of a sudden announced this one, and it is beginning with that lovely release of field service. The finance and operations piece will no longer work. You'll see December 1st, so it essentially will not work anymore if you do have a newer version of field service. And essentially what they have done is in the past with working with their finance and operations solutions and Dynamics field service, we kind of have a lot of integrations. Obviously the customers and accounts, but more importantly, we generally had inventory. So if we were grabbing parts and restocking parts and getting pricing and even sometimes costs, so cost for services, cost for personnel, that generally would all come from our finance and operations system, where we would kind of do this dual write sync piece with field service to kind of keep everything in sync, in real time if we wanted to as well. But there were some challenges with that, with the offline model and just some pieces in there. So Microsoft has decided that the new direction is doing everything in projects. So now the field service module will be integrated with projects, which it always was integrated with projects, but now they're going to do some more enhanced integrations of projects. So if you are currently using these two together, field service and Dynamics Field Service and basically finance and operations together, please get with Michael and the team and discuss it, because this will be a big change. You'll see this is totally being done out of the thing. So if it's running now, it's going to keep running. It won't let you do anything new. We can't do anything new. But now it's February 28th, 2027, which we do have a couple of years going through before this totally stops working. But better prepare for this one, because this one will be a big change if you are currently using this. And I think I will turn it back over to Michael.
Yeah, thank you, Matt. Appreciate it. If anybody has any questions, please just reach out to me directly via email, or you could open a case with us via the client care portal. But hope you enjoyed the presentation today. Thank you so much for taking the time. Happy holidays, and we will see you all soon.
Yep. Thank you very much, folks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.